It is me. I am back. Um, I'm sorry I haven't been around for a very long time. It's just with me graduating college and everything, it's just been pretty hectic and I haven't really felt like doing videos. But today, this guy came out and he made me really want to post a video about him. Because I know I was on the fence about him when he was out on the news. But when he finally came out, I jumped the gun and I couldn't be happier. Right? So hopefully I just want to, change some of your minds that also might be out there on the fence and point out his highlights that just made me absolutely love him. And the longer I play with him, the more and more I'm liking him. So let's go with the usual scheme and start off with the box. Just take a look at the back. It's got a little picture of him doing a side ab crunch. That's the actual figure, not an artwork like the side one back here. If you ask me, this sort of looks like Lou Ferrigno and not really Mark Ruffalo. That, on the other hand, looks like Mark Ruffalo. I don't know. But, yes, this is actually a different shade of green than the actual figure. But it is a great artwork, nonetheless. It doesn't really fit in with the other Marvel Selects. All the other Marvel Selects are more like comic-y kind. This one's more realistic. It's refreshing. Everything about this figure is refreshing. Here's a bio on the back. You can just pause that if you want to read it. Here's some of the other figures. I wasn't expecting this. I thought Ultron was going to be the next figure after Hawkeye, but it's the Chitauri Soldier, and I'm definitely going to pass that because I hated the way they looked. Sorry you can't really see a clear pic, but there are pics out there of Hawkeye, and it's definitely nothing special. Definitely going to pass up on it. I just don't think Marvel does their smaller figures as well as their larger ones. If you look at my collection, you could totally tell I live by that because I mostly only get the larger sized ones. The smaller ones, they look funny. I'd prefer to get more statues, like static statues and maybe Kotobukiya statues when it comes to smaller guys like that. But Marvel Select does an excellent job at their larger guys. Abomination, Juggernaut, all of them. This is Hulk, Marvel, Avengers. Standard bubble packaging. Look, when I had the twist ties on this thing, these were the hardest twist ties I've ever had to deal with, ever. They were on there so tight. I was scared it was going to start chipping the paint, but it didn't, thankfully. That's something you just probably want to wire cut that stuff, not bother. Now let's get on to the actual figure. This guy. So I've wanted ever since the Hulk movie, it might as well be the Hulk movie because I feel like in the movie the Hulk definitely stole the show. He was comic relief mostly, more so than his action side. But he definitely had his fair share of action, and he was my favorite character throughout the whole movie. It took a while for him to show up, but when he did, I was on the edge of my seat. Now, when they announced this guy, I was actually going to pass up on him because I was thinking of getting the Hot Toys version, the 1/6 scale, and I was going to probably settle for the Toys R Us really kiddie version of those Hulk Smash toys, but so glad I didn't do that and went for this guy instead. Because you know what I'm talking about. You've seen the reviews for the other Hulks from Toys R Us. They're just disgusting. Definitely geared towards kids. But this is the Hulk, and he is green. He's a very dark shade of green. Here I'm just gonna compare him completely to the first Marvel Select Hulk, just because they have a lot of similarities, being the Hulk and all. But this being my favorite Marvel Select of all time, I'm glad I'm going to be comparing it to this guy, because this is, I just love him so much. See, as you can see here, they're both on flat surface, and the height-wise, standing up straight, the edge goes to the newer one, the Avengers Hulk. It's just a smidge taller, but this one's more hunched over, whereas this one you could stand him up pretty straight, but he could also have hunching over because of his ab crunch. It goes backwards more than it does forward. Like, that's the most it'll go forward, but it goes back, way back. Look like he's about to pull off some kind of Hulk smash. But as you can see, there's a really big difference. This light's kind of strong. Well, there's a really big difference between the greens in this Hulk. This one's like 3 shades darker than this one. And now that I have both of them, this one looks completely cartoony and outlandish, but this one, it's a really nice dark shade of green. Standing next to my computer, I would definitely put this guy there, just because this one pops out so much. This one's great. The sculpting it's fairly decent. And you got all the standard muscles. The arms are a bit small, but I think that's because they wanted it to be more realistic, quote unquote, with the proportions. Because you know how beefy this guy is, and imagine that on screen. It's not as believable as something that's more human-esque, like normal proportions, but you know, just like 3 times larger. He's got his khakis, which are like really dark purple mixed with brown. In the direct light, it's more like dark gray, but in the shade like this, it looks really purple. You can see that his knees are same knees, but painted differently. Like, this one just has it covering the knee, this one is painted green instead. The feet are definitely a lot smaller than they are on the other one, but again, I feel like that was more towards just proportion. And you know, that's it. He's got 2 peg holes on the bottom, even though he doesn't come with a base. And there's something to watch out for when you're buying them, because this one, this side, the nails are painted, this side they're not, so it's kind of weird if you look at it from a top view, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. There's a lot of nice shading on this guy, and since he's such a dark color, the shading just makes him look so gritty and so hardcore. If we take a look at his face, this has got to be a great head sculpt. This is more like a classic Hulk sculpting. I wasn't in love with it at first, but like I said, the more I played with it, the more it grew on me, and now I think this is my favorite Hulk. Sorry. Articulation, it's pretty standard. I'm not going to go over all of it, but it's pretty standard. The only real difference are the hips. They go out pretty far, like somewhere like there, and put it down, you actually have to hold it on the hip size, because if you don't, it feels like it's going to break, and then you bring it back down. Then the one with